A vizier, /vzier/ rarely /vzjr/ in Arabic script, Arabic pronunciation Wazeer, Persian and Urdu, Hindi, sometimes spelled vazir, vīzjər, vazir, wazir, vasir, or vīzjər, is a high-ranking political advisor or minister. The Abbasid Caliphs gave the title Wazir to a minister formerly called katib, secretary, who was at first merely a helper, but afterwards became the representative and successor of the dapir, official scribe or secretary, of the Sassanian kings. In modern usage, the term has been used for ministers in Arab world, India, Pakistan, Iran, Somalia, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. The word entered into English in 1562 from the Turkish vɪzjər, counselor, derived from the Arabic wazir, viceroy. Wazir itself has two possible etymologies. The most accepted dubious discuss etymology is that it is derived from the Arabic wazara, to bear a burden, from the Semitic root wzir. The word is mentioned in the Quran, where Aaron is described as the wazir, helper, of Moses, as well as the word wizr, burden, which is also derived from the same root. On the other hand, the presence of a Middle Persian word vizr or vɪķzɪər, meaning a legal document or decision, cognate to the Avestan vīzjər, meaning decreer or arbitrator, could possibly indicate an Indo-European origin. The Muslim office of vizier, which spread from the Arabs, Persians, Turks, Mongols, and neighboring peoples, regardless of the style of the ruler, arose under the first Abbasid Caliphs. The vizier stood between sovereign and subjects, representing the former in all matters touching the latter. The term has been used in two very different ways, either for a unique position, the prime minister at the head of the monarch's government, the term grand vizier always refers to such a post, or as a shared cabinet rank, rather like a British Secretary of State. If one such vizier is the prime minister, he may hold the title of Grand Vizier or another title. In Muslim Persia, the prime minister under the political authority of the Shahanshah was commonly styled Vezir-i-Azam, supreme, i.e. Grand Vizier. Alternative titles include Atabeg-i-Azam and Sardri-Azam, and various ministers held cabinet rank as Wazir, including a Wazir-i-Daftar, Minister for Finance, and a Wazir-i-Lushkar, War Portfolio. In Al-Andalus, the Iberian Peninsula under the Arabo-Barbaresque Moors, appointed by the Caliph of Córdoba. Similarly in many of the emirates and sultanates of the Taifas which the caliphate was broken up into, for example the Abbasids in Seville. In Muslim Egypt, the most populous Arab country. Under the Fatimid Caliphs. Again since the effective end of Ottoman rule, remarkably since 1857, i.e. before the last wali, governor, Ismail Pasha, was raised Khedive, circa viceroy, on June 8, 1867, exchanged for the Western prime ministers on August 28, 1878, before the formally independent sultanate was proclaimed. During the days of the Ottoman Empire, the Grand Vizier was the often de facto ruling prime minister, second only to the Sultan, and was the leader of the Divan, the imperial council. Vizier was also the title of some Ottoman provincial governors, use of the title often indicating a greater degree of autonomy for the province involved and the greater prestige of the title holder. This was, for example, a major issue in the Bosnian uprising of 1831. In the Sharifian Kingdom of Morocco, historically a sultanate till the incumbent assumed the higher royal style of Malik on August 14, 1957, shortly after the end of the simultaneous French and Spanish protectorates. The additional Islamic title Amir al-Mu'minin, Commander of the Faithful, stayed in use. Sadr al-Azam, Grand Vizier, was in office until November 22, 1955, replaced since December 7, 1955. Part political, Prime Minister. Vizier was the style of a Minister of State. Other titles for various portfolios. In the Hashemite Kingdom of Hejaz, later merged into present-day Saudi Arabia, the sole vizier was, June 10, 1916 to October 3, 1924, the future second King Ali ibn Hussein al-Hashimi, under his father Hussein ibn Ali al-Hashimi, the first to assume the title Malik, i.e. King, instead of Grand Sharif, maintained after the assumption of the Caliphal style, only March 11, 1924 to October 3, 1924. In the Regency of Tunisia, under the Husainid dynasty, various ministers of the Bey, including Wazir al-Akbar, or el-Wazir al-Kabir Great Minister, i.e. Grand Vizier, Chief Minister or Prime Minister. Wazir al-Amala, or el-Wazir al-Amala Minister for the Interior. Wazir al-Bar, or el-Wazir al-Bar Minister of the Sea, i.e. for the Navy/Marine. Wazir al-Harb, or el-Wazir al-Harb Minister for the Army or Minister for War. Wazir al-Istishara, or el-Wazir al-Istikara Minister Counselor. Wazir al-Kalam, Minister of the Pen. Wazir ud-Dawla, or el-Wazir al-Dawla Minister of State. Wazir us-Shura, or el-Wazir ek-Chawara Privy Councillor. In Oman the Hami/Sultan's chief minister was styled Wazir till 1966, but in 1925 to 1932 there was also or instead a chairman of the Council of Ministers. Since 1970 the style is Prime Minister. Viziers to the Sultans of Zanzibar, a branch of the Omani dynasty, since 1890 filled by British, also known as First Ministers, July 1, 1913 to February 23, 1961, the British resident, minister, an extremely direct form of indirect rule, before and after chief or prime ministers, generally native. Grand Viziers to the Sultan of Sokoto, this is however disputed. The title Waziri is apparently a derivative of this word, and is a highly regarded chieftaincy title in most of northern Nigeria. Indeed, most of the emirs in northern Nigeria have a Waziri, who is usually a high-ranking advisor to the emir. In pre- and colonial, notably British, India many rulers, even some Hindu princes, had a vizier as chief minister compared to Diwan, Nawab Wazeer, Pradhan, etc. In the former Sultanate of the Maldives, Divhi language, the prime minister was styled Baju Vizier, and various ministers held cabinet rank as Vaziran, plural, including Hakara A, Portfolio of Public Works, Shah Bandar, Navy Portfolio, also Admiral-in-Chief, Vila Anna A, Foreign Affairs. In Afghanistan, under the Durrani dynasty, the chief minister was styled Vezir-i-Azam or Wazir-i-Azam, 1801–1880, the Vezir-i-Darbar or Wazir al-Darbar was the House, Minister of the Royal Court. Modern post-monarchy use edit. Wazir is the standard Arabic word for a government minister. Prime ministers are usually termed Ras al-Wuzara, literally, President of the Ministers, or al-Wazir al-Awwal, Prime First Minister. The latter term is generally found in the Maghrib, while the former is typical of usage in the Mashriq, broadly defined, including Egypt, Sudan, Levant, Iraq and the Arabian Peninsula. Thus, for example, the Prime Minister of Egypt is in Arabic a Wazir. In Iran the ministers of government are called Vazir in Persian, e.g. Foreign/Health Vazir, and Prime Minister of State before the removal of the post, was called as Naqast Vazir. In Pakistan, the Prime Minister, de facto ruling politician, formally under the President, is called Vezir-i-Azam, Persian for Grand Vizier. Other ministers are styled Wazirs. In India, Vazir is the official translation of minister in the Urdu language, and is used in ministerial oath-taking ceremonies conducted in Urdu. In the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan is sometimes given the honorific title of Wazir. Anachronistic historical use. It is common, even among historians, to apply contemporary terms to cultures whose own authentic titles are, or were when the habit took root, insufficiently known, in this case to pre-Islamic antiquity. In ancient Egypt the highest-ranking government official, appointed by the pharaoh and acting as his chancellor, chief administrator, Egyptian, Tadi, is called vizier by modern researchers. The term is also used for the chief administrators of Upper and Lower Egypt during the times when the administration of the country was headed by two officials, thus there was a vizier for the north, Lower Egypt, the Nile Delta, and a vizier for the south, Upper Egypt. However, at times the viceroy of Nubia, a military governor-general, sometimes a prince of the pharaoh's blood, and / or the high priest of Amun. The temple complex at Thebes gradually amassed sufficient possessions and income to rival the crown, rose to equal or even superior power. Some pharaohs are even believed to have lost real political preeminence to the kingmakers. Thus in modern language translations of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 41, Joseph, the 11th son of Jacob, is called vizier to Pharaoh. In this same chapter of Genesis, Pharaoh changed his newly appointed vizier's name to Zaphenath-Paneah. The term is used to designate the highest official of the kingdom of Ebla, head of the administration, Eblate, Lugal Saza. Princely title. In the rare case of the Indian princely state of Jafarabad, disambiguation needed. Jafarabad, founded c. 1650, ruled by the Nadars. In 1702 a state called Janjira was founded, with rulers, 6 incumbents, styled Wazir. When, in 1762, Jafarabad and Janjira states entered into personal union, both titles were maintained until, after 1825, the higher style of Nawab was assumed. Art. In contemporary literature and pantomime, the Grand Vizier is a character stereotype and is usually portrayed as a scheming backroom plotter and the clear power behind the throne of a usually bumbling or incompetent monarch. A well-known example of this is the sinister character of Jafar in the Disney animated film Aladdin, who plots and uses magic to take over the entire kingdom of Agrabah under the nose of the nation's naive sultan, just as Jafar in the 1940 movie The Thief of Baghdad dethroned his master, Caliph Ahmed. Others include Zigzag from The Thief and the Cobbler, the original inspiration for the character of Jafar in Disney's Aladdin. The comic book character is Nugoud, Prince Sinbad's advisor Yusuf in the DC Vertigo series Fables, and the villains of the video games Prince of Persia and King's Quest VI, Air Today, Gone Tomorrow. Perhaps the origin of this character archetype is the biblical account of Esther. The book details the rise of a Jewish woman to Queen of Persia, and her role in stopping the plot of Haman, chief advisor to the Persian king, to wipe out all Jews living in Persia. Throughout history the notion of the sinister Grand Vizier has often been invoked when a political leader appears to be developing a cozy relationship with a spiritual advisor of questionable scruples or talents. This stereotype is frequently mentioned in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, as for example in both Sorcery and Interesting Times. In Shatranj, from which modern chess developed, the piece corresponding to the modern chess queen, though far weaker, was often called wazir. Up to the present, the word for the queen piece in chess is still vazir in Persian, vɪ଼zjər in Turkish, wazir in Arabic, and vezir in Hungarian, meaning leader.